Cho sambo pagyo tashi pa tuche tempe trile yarnoda Pegye prolor sampe se parache Pande lame shabla solvade Omo a guru vajradara Timo nishasane karma Uta vardanya shri bhadra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Uta vardanya shri bhadra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Dagi Jetsun Lama Tuje Je Nyamda Dala Tuje Siksu So Give Shesan Dala Tendu So Uyon Sungi Nawa Tsedu So Tseji Ningne Sowa Debe Tse Techen Korlo Busu Lekshune Yila Sampe Tede Malupa Geme Lungi Drubra Jingi Lo Tsoni Sodan Dikdun Shape Tse Yungi Namge Yinsu Lekshune Lapchen Soni Yonso Sobada Chera Nyedun Chamra Jingi Lo Chancho Pargi Ninsen Tukuntu Nyu Peme Subru Lekshune Chancho Drube Kegen Kunshishi Tingen de la Drubra Jingi Lo Dagi Lona Chola Chopada Chami Samchurangimba Shivada Chudan Timbe Dede Malupa Peme Lungi Drubra Jingi Lo Dona Tingne Tsira Tamchera Negav Tamche Tu Rese Kyamne Lama Kele Me Tuche Chingi Dala Siksus Mongya Drive Nyamda Dachala Chitsun Lame Tuche Ravgone Kudan Sungi Nawa Drame Du Nyamso Nyungwe Kesan Toprasho Kewa Kundu Yanda Lama Dan Drame Cheki Pela Longchechi Sadan Lamgi Yende Rapsane Dorche Changi Kopa Nyurto Vesho Pakyuke Kudan Dagilu Pakyuke Sundan Dagima Pakyuke Tudan Dagi Tenyerme Chiktu Chingilo Makyuke Kudan Dagilu Makyuke Sundan Dagina Makyuke Tudan Dagi Tenyerme Chiktu Chingilo Shogi chonam la jancho bardo dani kyapsuchi Dagi chinso give sonamgi Drola penche sangye druparasho Sangye chodam shogi chonam la jancho bardo dani kyapsuchi Dagi jinso gibe sonamgi, drola benchir samge druparasho. Sangye chodam chobi chonam la, janchu pardu dani kyapsuchi. Dagi jinso gibe sonamgi, drola benchir samge druparasho. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge into enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, today we enter the fourth seal, and it is maybe from the four seals the one that normally may be less explained, but I believe one of the most important. Okay. When, let's start from a metaphor. We get sick. What's the first thing we do, supposedly, when we get sick, when we feel symptoms? We should go to look for a doctor, right? Because us, ourselves, not to get cured, because the doctor cannot cure us, but because we don't have enough knowledge to understand what that symptom really is, what's the cause of that symptom, and we don't have enough knowledge of what's the way how to cure it. So we need to go to look for a doctor. Then we go to look for the doctor, hopefully we find the right doctor, and then the doctor, hopefully in the sense that it is very important to have the right doctor. No? Then, because one of the most important things is to have the right diagnosis. This is one of the very important aspects. Once we have a good doctor, then we have a diagnosis. From the diagnosis, we have a treatment to follow. But then comes one part which makes all the difference. Even if I have the best doctor, even if I have the correct treatment, if I do not believe I can get cured, I will not take the medicine, because the medicine is bitter and it's expensive and it's not nice to take. I will not change my diet, I will not do the exercises, I will not put the effort necessary. Why? Because truly I don't believe I can get cured. I remember one time my grandmother, she had leukemia, and she needed to do the bone marrow transplant. No? And I think one of the most strong aspects on her process of getting cured was that she truly believed it. Because all the doctors around, they said only the possibility percentage of it working is only 40%. So many doctors were even saying, oh, okay, look, now you are already quite old, and actually we are not really sure if this will work. The probabilities of not working is even higher. We don't know when the leukemia will really truly manifest. So somehow here, there, maybe better not do the transplant. But she always believed that it would happen and it would be possible. And she had this very strong idea, if there is anything that can help me to stay and live longer, I will do it. It doesn't matter what it is. No? So there was this very, very strong aspect of believing in herself. This is, I think, one of the keys for any cure. No? I remember one time when we were at the PhD over here. And then there was one of the doctors that was talking there. One of the things that he said that was, there was one research about all the patients, not all, but about many, many patients that had cancer and that were able to cure completely from the cancer without the cancer coming back. And they checked with all different types of treatments. They checked it with chemotherapy, with all other types of treatments. And the only thing in common that they could find in all the patients was that they truly believed that that was the right treatment for them, and that they truly believed that they could get cured. Okay? So this is a very, very important part on the path. Is to believe that yes, it is possible. For different reasons. But one of them is that when we truly believe, we put the necessary effort for it to happen. Okay? Without entering into other aspects which I also believe are there, but at least this part of the effort is already, it's also there. So, how does this enter into our own path? I see very often people that have a lot of faith in the Guru and have a lot of faith in the Buddhas and have a lot of faith in the holy beings and the Dharma and so on, but still are not able to put so much effort and dedication on their own practice and their own path. Why? Because it's missing faith in one of the most important things, in oneself. We can have full faith in Buddha, but if we don't have faith in ourselves, that we can become one, then we are not going to be able to follow well. Like believing very much in the doctor, but having no faith in oneself that I can get cured. It's good that we have faith in the doctor, but the fact that we do not have faith in ourselves, we wait a miracle from the doctor, but we don't put the effort ourselves on what we need to do. So, in this sense, it is really, really one of the most important things is to have faith in ourselves. Faith in ourselves means it's possible. I can make it. It's possible to change my paradigm. It's possible to deal with my own defilements. It's possible to eliminate my ignorance. It's possible to develop great love and compassion towards others. I can make it. It may take some time, but I can make it. So, the fourth seal is about this. The fourth seal, in which we say, which means beyond suffering is peace, nirvana is peace. It means I can reach the state of peace. I can eliminate suffering. I can reach the state of non-suffering, which is called nirvana. So, to understand a little bit this, we need to go through some points. First of them, one thing which it's important most of all to make things clear. Okay? Have you ever heard the fact saying, oh, our nature is pure? We all have a pure nature. Sometimes it is said we all have a Buddha nature. Some people even go a little bit to extreme, saying we are all Buddhas without knowing.
No, that's not possible.
You are correct. Some people say like this, oh, we are all Buddhas, but we don't know. If we were to be a Buddha without knowing it, we would be quite an ignorant Buddha, but so that's not possible. But the fact is that there are many ways of saying. Depends what we mean by what is said. No? So what does it mean that our nature is pure? I had quite an analysis and quite my own research about this subject. Because it is, I believe, quite important. So let's try to understand it a little bit. What does it mean when we say that we have a pure nature? What is that pure nature? Okay. Different traditions of Buddhism explain it in different ways. I will explain in the way how is the tradition from which I come from, and the one that actually, it looks for me the most coherent and consistent way of explaining and understanding. So, if having a pure nature means that actually I am pure, but for whatever reason I became impure, because our tendency when we say our nature is pure is to think that, okay, actually I am pure, but for whatever reason I became impure. Okay? There is even the example that is said that there is one verse coming from Buddha Maitreya in the Uttara Tantra in which it says, Semgiran Shinwe Selwa Semgiran Shinwe Selwa Namka Timba Mebatra. Something like this. I'm not sure that is exactly, but it says, the nature of the mind is of clear light, just as the sky. And the Namka Timba Loburwa, something like this, which means where the clouds are just temporary. So the example that is giving is that our mind is like the pure sky, where our defilements are like the clouds. So what does this mean? If the clouds would be of the nature of the sky, they would always be there. The sky couldn't exist without the clouds there. But because the nature of the sky is free, is different than the nature of the clouds, it's possible for the sky to be there without clouds. Okay? The other example that is given is that if you take a pure crystal and you put a lot of dirt around it, when you look, it looks something very dirty. But in the moment that you take away the dirt, the crystal is always crystal. It's not because it had remained with dirt for a long time that the crystal became dirt. So they still have their own nature separated. Okay? That's why we say that the defilements are temporary. They are not of the same nature of the mind. So when we say that our mind is of a pure nature and the defilements are temporary, which means they are not of the nature of the mind, because if something is of the nature of something else, it means that one cannot exist without the other. Okay? So, the question that comes to us first is, okay, if my nature is actually pure, does that mean that one day I was pure? How come now I am impure? What does it mean to be impure? How come now I have ignorance, I have all my defilements, anger, jealousy, envy, fear, and so on and so on? How come now I suffer, I am unsatisfied, and so on, if my nature is pure? Because there are temporary defilements, like dirt around something that is very pure. And the question that comes is, okay, but when did that start? No? And here the problem is the following, because if I can point one moment in which it started, or it was my fault, or it was someone else's fault. Right? If everything was perfect and nice, and it was completely beautiful, and then suddenly I became ignorant, whose fault it was? If it was my fault, then it was not real pure. Right? If it was someone else's fault, it's even worse. Because it means it doesn't depend on me. And I can do anything now to try to become pure, and then again someone can come and make me impure again, you know. So, the fact is, the question is another. It's not when did I become impure. Was I ever free of impurity? Was I ever free from ignorance? No. So what does it mean for me to be pure? It's a complete different idea of what normally it comes to our mind, actually. When I say that something is clean, okay? we need to understand that when we say that something is clean or something is pure, it is actually a sort of a negation. It's clean of dirt. When I say that something is clear, clean, pure, I'm saying that it's free of some sort of impurity. Okay? So, it's like if I take the floor and I say, okay, it's clean. But maybe for one person it's clean, for the other person it doesn't look clean. Why? Because they have a different concept of dirt. Right? Like when we arrived in the monastery, I remember there was like one of the monks that was helping at home. And one morning I remember my father got quite upset. Because he tried to explain a few things to them and he just couldn't get it. Of concepts of cleanness, no? So he was like, one day the monk, he was sweeping the floor. And then he took the same broom that he was sweeping the floor, which was not the cleanest of all floors, not like here. And then he was sweeping the floor, and then after he took the same broom just right away and he started sweeping the table where we eat. No? And then my father said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Why? I'm cleaning the table." Because there was maybe some little things of bread or whatever on the table, no? And then he said, "Oh, but this is not possible. It's dirty, this thing." He said, "Why? Do you eat on the table or on the plate?" You eat in the plate, right? So what are you complaining about, you know? Just debating all the time, no? But what happened is that it depends the concept of cleanness, right? What do we intend? No? Anyhow, no, then the many other examples come to my mind, but it doesn't matter now. Okay? And the point is that just let's understand very clearly this concept. When I say that something is pure, what does it mean? That it lacks something, that is free of something. Okay? When I say that something is clean, it means it's free of dirt. But then depends what I mean by dirt. Okay? So when we say that our nature is pure, what does that mean? Like when we do the mantra Om Swabhava Shuddha Sarva Dharma Swabhava Shuddhaham. Om, all phenomena are of a pure nature, and so am I. I am also of a pure nature. Of a clear nature, clean nature. When we say that our nature is pure, it means that it's free of the impurity of inherent existence. It doesn't mean that we are free from ignorance, that we are free from jealousy, that we are free from envy. It means that in our nature we do not exist in any way as a being of wisdom or as a being of ignorance. In any way, we don't exist in any way in an inherently objective way. Are we ignorant? Yes. Why? Because we are constantly living in a negative interdependence through our own ignorance. The question is it possible to change our mind? Does it take time? Also takes time, but it's possible. It's possible to change the mind in a gross level, in a subtle level, and in a very subtle level. Is it possible to understand better reality and to change one's own paradigm? It is possible. So what does that mean? That our mind is flexible. Why? Because it is interdependent. The mind acts in accordance to what was the previous thought. The mind of this moment is a result of the previous thoughts of our mind, and like this we can go on. Okay, and as we interact and we think, we are constantly shaping ourselves also for the future. So in this sense, our mind is not inherently ignorant. We are not inherently angry. We are not inherently jealous. We are not inherently miser, and so on. We are interdependently ignorant, interdependently angry, interdependently attached, and so on. So, was I ever pure in the sense of not having any ignorance? No. That's good. Why? Because if I was ever in a moment without any ignorance and now I have ignorance again, then this would be a real problem. Okay? But the main question that comes with it is, okay, I always had ignorance, but is it possible for me to be free from ignorance? Is it possible gradually to relate myself to reality in a more coherent way? Is it possible to love more in a better way? Is it possible to have more generosity? I believe yes. Is it possible to have less anger, or less jealousy, or less pride, or less miserliness? I believe yes. And most of all, because I have met people that for me are and were an example of wisdom, of compassion, in the way how I want to become. So I think it's possible. And what is the pure nature of ourselves? And what is the Buddha nature of ourselves? If we take a Buddha and we analyze the mind of a Buddha, what is the ultimate nature of the mind of a Buddha? That his mind is interdependent. That he doesn't exist as a Buddha in an inherently autonomous, independent way, but in an interdependent way. What is the main difference between ourselves, at least myself, and a Buddha? That a Buddha lives constantly in a positive interdependence, and we do not do that. This would be the main difference. From the point of view of, how to say, if we would call the physics of the mind somehow, we follow the same laws. We and a Buddha, we are in the same reality. There is not that Buddha is something that is completely separated from us. When we talk about a Buddha means someone that lives in the same reality as we do, that have the same nature as we do, that have the same resources as we do, but that was able to create such a positive interdependence, to use one's own resources in such a positive way, that is completely free from suffering and that has developed the qualities to their maximum potential. It's like, if we take two people, okay, we take three people. They all are born in the same conditions, okay? Very similar DNA, even the same DNA. We can take them having born in the same type of conditions with family and material conditions and everything the same, okay? But then each one of them ends up following a different path. One of them really wants to be very strongly to do sports, and since a young age, because of the conditions in which he was put, he's always making exercise his whole life. Okay? He wants to make triathlon, whatever. He's Iron Man, whatever. Okay? The other one likes to do a little bit exercise, walks a little bit, do some bicycle, whatever, but it's normal way, not doing anything. Maybe some little bit yoga here, there, but not so much. And the third one is a complete lazy one that never ever wants to do any exercise, and everything that he likes doing is eating junk food. Okay? When they all reach 50 years old, they are same or different? Their body. Very different. Actually, their mind also, I suppose. Because body and mind are connected. But very different. They were born with the same conditions. They had the same possibility. They have, let's say, the same nature. But what made the differences? The interdependence through which they lived. The choices that they made. One passed the whole life exercising, so there he is. And maybe sometimes those that make professional exercise is even worse. Then they get all problems. And I have many friends that were professional, doing professional exercise. One have the problem, like there's a professional surfer friend of mine, he's all broken. He has all sort of hernias and all sort of things. And then I know a few people that they did professional exercise and then they are really, their body is quite bad because they use it too much. So most probably if we took the three, one of them for a period of his life, he looked like the most strong and best body. But then when getting older, the middle one was the best. He was doing some yoga here and there, some little exercise, eating healthy, not doing too much. But what I want to say is that if we look in a long term, what makes the difference was not where they were born or who they were, but the choices that they make. And the way how they lived their lives, daily. That's the most important thing, because to choose to go to yoga class is not so useful if you do not do the yoga in the class. Okay, you can go to yoga class your whole life. If you just sit there and look at others doing yoga, you will learn quite well how the asanas are, but you will not have done any. Okay, or if you love sports, but to watch others doing, you will all know all about all the techniques of the sport, but you would not have done any for yourself. It's like loving meditation but not meditating, no? Or loving the Buddhist philosophy but not really learning and applying to oneself. Anyhow, the point is that depending on what we do, we change. Why? Because we are interdependent, because we interact. What did we see yesterday? Why we change? Because we interact. And according to the way we interact, this will determine the way we change. Okay. Is a Buddha changing?
Yes.
Yes. But the fact is that he's living in constant positive interdependence, so the change means he's always positive. It's not going to go anywhere that he becomes suddenly ignorance comes back again. Okay? So, when we say that our nature is pure, we mean that we are interdependent. Which means that yes, for now I am ignorant. Why? Because for whatever reasons, if there is a specific reason that I can find, I am to an interdependence in which I see reality in a way how reality is not, and so on. But can I change that? Yes, I can. It is actually truly possible. Why? Because we are interdependent. Okay? If we take a Buddha and if we take ourselves, we will see that the structure of our minds are basically the same. The basic structure. What changes is the way how each quality have developed or not. Okay? So to explain a little bit better about that, because when we talk about enlightenment and Buddha and so on, it's very far from many of us. So one of the things that helps that is understanding a little bit better what we call the 5 dhyani Buddhas, which is connected to the practice of self-healing. So let's understand them a little bit better, because what are the 5 dhyani Buddhas? We have an image there, no? Of these 5 Buddhas. The 5 dhyani Buddhas actually are representing qualities that we all have developed at their maximum potential. 5 dhyani Buddhas are not like gods to whom we ask for help. 5 dhyani Buddhas are like representations, archetypes, embodiments, whatever way we like to call, emanations of Buddha, representing the qualities that we have but developed in their maximum potential. Okay? There are many different ways how we can explain. But I like to explain today based on what are called the 5 wisdoms. Okay? The 5 dhyani Buddhas, each one of them represent one of the 5 wisdoms developed at its maximum potential. And for me, once we understand the 5 wisdoms, we have a much better idea of what is actually a Buddha. But also we understand better our own potential of enlightenment. So let's see. The 5 wisdoms are divided into 2. The 5 wisdoms of the basis and the 5 wisdoms of result, or resultant 5 wisdoms. What does it mean, basis and result? Basis is where we are now. Result is what we can get from that. In all Buddha's teachings, we always need to remember of these 3 aspects, which is everything goes through basis, path, and result. It's a very important concept, which is the basis are the resources that I have. It's like, let's say I like to start a new business. The first question that I need to make to myself is, what are the resources that I have available right now? What do I have? What knowledge I have? What material resources I have? Which market is around? What are the resources that are available right now, at this moment? Okay, first question. Second question, with these resources, developing them, where can I go? Which is the goal? Which is the final goal? Which is the result? Where do I want to reach? The third part, in order for me to reach there, what do I need to do? The path. It's like if I take a big piece of marble and I say, okay, this is what I have, the basis. I like to make a beautiful statue out of it. Can it fit into this piece of marble? Yes, now I need to start working on it. Then I will start carving it in order to make the statue. But I cannot wish to make a statue 2 meters high when my stone is only 1 meter. Right? After then I start making the stone and I say, oh, I cannot get my statue because the stone was not right. No, I did not access correct. I didn't check correctly which are the resources. Like, if I come and I say, I want to be one astronaut in this life. Sincerely speaking, even if I tried so hard, I don't think it will be possible for me. Based on the education I have, on my physical status, on the whole process, which I don't think I would ever get there, even if I try very hard. The point is that to put to ourselves an objective that is incoherent with the resources we have is just a cause of frustration. So whenever we place an objective, it's very important to see if that objective is or is not coherent with the resources we have, which is the basis. So one of the first things that we need to do is understand what are the resources. With the resources I have, is it possible to get there? Is it possible to do that or not? So the basis are the resources. The result is what is the final result that we can get. And once we have the basis and we see the basis and we project the result, in between there is the path. What I need to go do in order to get there. I want to get cured. Do I have a potential of getting cured? Yes, that's my basis. I have a body that is able to cure itself. So that's the basis. What is the result? A state of health. What do I need to do in between? Change my diet, do exercise correctly, change my emotional behavior, eat correctly, as I said already, take the medicines, and so on and so on. So these are the 3 points. So when we talk about becoming a Buddha, we need to understand that, first of all, which is the basis. That's why we talk the 5 Dhyani Buddhas represents the result. The basis are in ourselves. All of us, we have the basis. There is not one quality that we can find in a Buddha that we cannot find the basic state of that quality in us. Whenever we go there, there is a long text describing all the qualities of a Buddha. There is not one quality that is not originally coming from the basic state, which is where we are right now. Okay? So let's start with the 5 wisdoms. We will see the 5 wisdoms of the basis and the 5 wisdoms of results, so we can understand better our own self and what does the Buddha mean. Okay, we start by Buddha Amoghasiddhi. Okay, we will explain Akshobhya for the last one, but we start with Buddha Amoghasiddhi. Buddha Amoghasiddhi, green in color, is representing what is called the all-realizing wisdom. Okay, then we have the all-realizing wisdom of the basis and the all-realizing wisdom of result. Okay, let's start with the basis, which is where we are. The all-realizing wisdom of the basis is basically our own ability of our mind to choose what to do and what not to do. Any moment when we wake up, when we are walking, any moment of our lives, do we have an impulse to do something or not to do something? Sure. We always have it. Even when it is, I don't know what to do. This is also an impulse of saying, okay, better go here. I don't know, I take this, I take that, I don't know, which means still it's connected to the impulse of doing something. Okay? So this part of our mind, of directing ourselves to movement, to action, physical action, verbal action, mental action, of thinking, of going, of wanting, of doing, of movement, this is called the all-realizing wisdom. Okay? The difference between the basis and the result is that right now our all-realizing wisdom is full of doubt, fear. We really don't know what is the best for ourselves and others. So very often we need to do something, but we don't know really what is the best. Shall I do this? Shall I not do that? And so on. So we do not act spontaneously. Okay? While developing this ability of choosing what to do, when it gets to its maximum potential, which is the state of the all-realizing wisdom of a Buddha, is when the person, the Buddha in this case, have no any more doubt whatsoever about any action. Where every action for oneself and others, of body, speech and mind, simply comes smoothly and spontaneously, without fear, without doubt, without hesitation. Okay? So we have the potential. The more we gradually develop certainty in our actions, slowly we can develop it more and more. So the first quality of the mind of a Buddha is a mind that have always certainty in everything. There is no fear, there is no doubt, there is no uncertainty in its own actions. So if you wonder if you are a Buddha or not, first thing you can check if you have always certainty in everything. Okay? Because sometimes that come people saying, but maybe I think I've reached enlightenment, I think I am a Buddha. Okay. I am not the one to judge, you are the one to judge yourself. So first check, do you have certainty in everything or not? Second step, second type of wisdom. The second wisdom, is it clear, the all-realizing wisdom? Okay. Important, can we see the connection between where we are and a Buddha?
Yes.
There is always the same type of mind. The difference is that our is blocked and the Buddha's one is not blocked. But it's the same type of mind, of choosing, of moving forward, of acting. Second wisdom is called the wisdom of equanimity. The wisdom of equanimity basically is our ability to the wisdom and equanimity of the basis is our ability to put things into the same category. In other words, to see the similarities between them and put them together. So for example, as I look to all of you, I can say you are all humans. At least that's what I think. Okay? So in the moment that I put everyone into the same category, why? Because I see there are some similar aspects which for me determine a human being, and I can say, or I can make a group. These are men that are women. Okay? These are all squares, that are all statues. These are two glasses. These are all flowers. Okay? The ability to put things together, the ability to see the similarities of things, and by that group them. Try to think what would happen to our mind if we were not able to see the similarities and group things.
Chaos. Yeah.
Quite big problem, right? So, what is the mind, what is the wisdom of equanimity of a Buddha? It's where he perceives on each and everything what are all the similarities that exist. So when looking at sentient beings, at the same time that we can see that we are all humans, a Buddha can spontaneously see that everyone suffers, everyone wants to be happy, that everyone is guided by one's own ignorance. By looking at every phenomena, he can see that everything actually is part of the same interdependence. He can see everything that is impermanent. He can put everything together in whatever group it's necessary. Do we still make divisions? Are there similarities that we are not able to see? Many. Very often we get blocked into some details somewhere and we are not able to see what is similar. And still we put effort in seeing the difference and separating things instead of uniting them. And very often for us it's more strong the difference than the similarities. And it's very interesting to see that when the differences are big, very strong differences, then we accept more the differences. When the similarities are much more, and they are very small differences, then we have more difficulty accepting the differences and valuing the similarities. For example, in religion, very often it's more easy to accept someone from a complete different religion than someone that is from a very, very, very similar religion but slightly different. One's own tradition or whatever. No? Even if we see, where are the biggest conflicts between religions? Religions that are actually, the base is so similar, all monotheistic. Very similar principles. Someone may say that I'm completely wrong, but come from the same roots. And sometimes it's much more easy to accept someone that is from a complete different religion, like Hinduism or whatever, instead of accepting someone that is more similar. That is, I see, inside one specific religion also. But anyhow, the point here is the following, that the wisdom of equanimity is our ability to see similarities and to group them. Very important quality. This is the basic for equanimity. This is the basis for developing love towards all. Unconditional love, unconditional compassion. Is to be able to see that everyone is equal. And to see that everything is in the same. To see that everything lacks inherent existence, that everything is interdependent, that all the phenomena that are impermanent. To put things into the same place. Okay? But this wisdom must go together with the next. Because all the 5 wisdoms, they are always together. The next wisdom, which we jump, yes? This is Ratna Sambhava. Okay? The wisdom of equanimity is Buddha Ratna Sambhava in the navel. Yellow one. The next one, we jump Buddha Kshobhya. because it's easier to explain it in the end. And we go to Buddha Amitabha, red in color, which is the wisdom that realizes that Sosor Tokpe Yeshe. One of the ways of translating is the wisdom of discernment, or the wisdom that realizes each and every one. Each one.
Or?
The wisdom that realizes each one. Okay? Sosor means each one. Tokpa means to realize, to see, to understand. Okay? So, what does this mean? It's almost the opposite of the wisdom of equanimity. The wisdom of discernment is the ability to see the differences between parts and things and people. You are both human, but you are different. One is a man, the other one is a woman. These are both men, but one is tall, the other one is short. They are both tall, but one is more fat, the other one is less fat. One has this type of character, the other one has that type of character. It's the ability to see the particular individual aspects of each and everything. In other words, it's the ability to label. But it's the ability to label each one through its own specific characteristics. So, we see they look like two opposites. One is seeing the general characteristics and putting things together. The other one is seeing the differences. In one I see the similarities, the other one I see the differences. And these two aspects of the mind are not contradictory. It's not because I recognize all as human being and I respect all as human being and I treat all equal as human being, then I do not see the specific characteristics of each one and I don't treat each one as an individual. No? This remembers me one friend in Brazil one time that was telling me about his father. And he said, look, I came from a family in which we were so many brothers and sisters. I think there were 8 or something like this. And she was saying, but our father, he was so wonderful because he had not much time to stay with all of us actually, because we were so many. But what he did was that he would choose one day for each one of us every week, every 2 weeks, whatever, because there were 8, so we need to make shifts. So he would have basically every once in a while, which was in a constant basis, one specific time, 2-3 hours, half a day, one period, for each and every one of his child separately, where he built up a personal relation with that child. So one liked football, let's go to play football. The other one likes to play piano, let's go to play piano. The other one like this. So what happened is that they felt that even though their father didn't have so much time, they had a very close relation to the father, each one of them. They all had this very strong feeling. Because the father treated them all equally, because giving them the same time, but respecting the differences of each one of them. On the other side, we have families where the parents, in order to treat all the children equally, what they do, we all should do always the same for all. And this doesn't end up being equally, because one like one thing, the other one like another thing. One is in a way, the other one is in another. So the two aspects goes together. One is I respect all of you are my children, but then each one of you are different, so I need to treat you differently. Okay? It's like if I have many flowers at home. Each flower, they're all flowers that they need to be taken care in the same way as flowers. I need to give them the same attention, the same love as my flowers.
But one needs more water, the other needs less water, one needs more sun, the other needs less sun. But if I say, oh, they are all flowers, flowers need to be like this, and I do the same for all, it's not working. I need to recognize the specific characteristics and respect each one for their individual characteristics, which is not always easy. So, we have these two abilities in our mind, constantly there. Similarities and specific characteristics. So the mind of a Buddha is the mind that at the same time that he can see all the similarities, he sees the specific characteristics of each and every phenomenon. He knows how to distinguish one thing from the other, but never losing their similarities. Okay? Do we have this potential? I think so. Can we see the similarities? Yes. Can we see the specific characteristics? Also. But even in a very simple way, I think it's so good for us to understand that these two things they are complementary. And truly to be in a good way, we need to have both. We need to have equanimity, but our equanimity will not be real if we do not know how to see the specific aspects of each one. And if we just see the specific aspects without the equanimity, what happens? We disconnect one from the other, which is also not working. So in this way, wisdom of equanimity and wisdom of discernment, or the wisdom that realizes each one, that sees each one. Okay, I think it's quite clear, right? So for now, how would be the mind of a Buddha? A Buddha would be someone that have no doubt and have certainty in every action. That at every moment is able to see the similarities of everything and put everything together without losing the perception of the specific characteristics of each and every one. The next part, it is what is called the wisdom of Buddha Vairochana, white in color, which is called the wisdom of the mirror-like wisdom, the wisdom of the mirror, or the mirror-like wisdom. Okay? If we take a mirror, okay, can someone just get, there's a mirror there. Can someone just get, there's a mirror here, there's a mirror here. Okay, it's not so big, but it's okay. Can you see something reflected here? Okay, take that one, it's more nice. This one is also nice. Okay, if we take a mirror, okay? What is the specific quality of the mirror? How many things can it reflect at the same time? Huh? Can you see yourselves in the mirror more or less?
Yes.
Huh? Not really? I can see myself. But it makes you bigger, that's why. This mirror makes you bigger. So it's big. Anyhow. Okay, we put this one on that back there, another one. So the point is the following. When we look in the mirror, how many things can the mirror reflect at the same time? Can it reflect the mountain and the houses and the people? No? Like even this mirror is small, it can reflect many of you. Okay? So what does this mean? It means that it represents the ability of our mind of perceiving more than one phenomena at the same time. So imagine that our mind is like a mirror that reflects the world that is around and everything that is appearing. But some mirrors are clean, some mirrors are dirty. The more the mirror is dirty, the less its capacity to reflect. Okay? So, as we said yesterday, or the day before, I don't remember now, there is one, I saw one time a documentary in which it was saying that our human brain receives in every second around 2 billion informations. Okay? So every second we receive around 2 billion information, which come from where? From all our senses. No? It's like we have all these very high technology sensors. We try to technology to emulate our senses, but our is like one of the best technology that we can find is our own senses. The body is incredible, no? So we have all these sensors all around, and then it gives us a lot of information. So what is this information that we are receiving? Where we are, time, position, temperature, sensation, connecting to previous memories, and all other sorts of information that we are constantly receiving, okay? What I'm seeing, what I'm listening, what I'm smelling, and so on. So what happened is, from this 2 billion informations we receive every second, it is said that a common person like us, normally we are aware of only 2,000. From 2 billion, we are aware of 2,000 of the informations. Okay. So we have many sensors that are sending data, but we are only able to process 2,000 of 2 billion information that we receive. Okay. So, what would that mean? Actually, if we really look, how many things are actually happening at the same time normally we're not even aware of? So much. Even when we look to something or to someone, we have a general idea. Then maybe we are able to go into one specific aspect, but then we lose something else from our mind. Our processing capacity is not so high. Okay. Then we concentrate on the image, and then we're not able to concentrate anymore on the sound, and then maybe we have one thing and we lose the other, and then so many informations that are there that we are not able really to see. Okay? So, the mirror-like wisdom is our ability to process information. How much do we actually see? How much are we able to perceive from everything that is appearing to us? What is the mirror-like wisdom of a Buddha? His mirror is totally clean, and he can see clearly and perceive and process clearly each and every information of the 2 billion information that arrives. Which means he has totally clear everything that is arriving. This is one of the forms of what we call omniscience. Omniscience doesn't necessarily mean to know everything from everywhere, but to be aware of everything that is around us. To be aware, to be able to process all the information that we receive. That would already be quite amazing, no? I remember one doctor, his name was Dr. Manavajra or Manavajra. He was in Nepal. He was the doctor of the king at the time, when Nepal still had a king. And he was one of the most famous doctors of Ayurvedic medicine in Nepal. And very beautiful man, incredible man, and very humble. So he would receive his patients in this small room. He became very famous, and people offered him to make a nice clinic. He never wanted. So he was in this small, very simple place where he always received his patients. And it was funny because there was the entrance, people would sit on a bench, waiting. And then on the side he would be sitting, so he could see people that were coming in and out. And he could see also the people waiting. And then there was a little stool when the person can sit, little chair where you could sit. And then if he needed to make some check, he would just push a curtain. But he would talk to you in front of everyone else. No? And he was really very, very precise. He was an incredible doctor. He took very good care of me one moment in which I needed. But one time I went there, and there was someone accompanying me. And then the person arrives, and then there is the person that really needs to do the checkup. Go there, he takes the pulse, he look at you, and he say, okay, you have this, that, and I like this, da, 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 da. I remember my problem at the time was that I had a very bad pain coming from here, and it would go through my whole arm up to my hand here. You know? And this pain, it was always there, and it was quite difficult in a way. Then he looked to me, and then I went to one hospital before, one of the best hospitals in Bangalore. They said, oh, this is because of the nerve that is pinched here, whatever reason, this and that. Then he looked to me and he said, your liver. Your liver is not strong enough, you're having problem in your liver, and then because of that you cannot purify enough blood, and this is making you a circulation problem. So he gave me some pills for the liver, which they were really quite horrible, the taste of these pills and the constancy. Anyhow, I took the pills and I got better. It really helped very much. But what I wanted to say was, one of the times I went to see him, there was some other person accompanying me. I don't remember who it was. And the person was just there to go together. And when he finished to me, he said, and you? He said, no, I don't need anything. Aren't you feeling like this? Don't you have that? He started to say the symptoms the person was having, you know? Not touching, not doing anything. And then the person looked very much straight and he said, I see the way you walk, I see the color in your face. Then he called, come here, and then the person came and did the whole thing, you know? What this means, his mirror was very clear on that part of health and knowing how to see, you know? When we see a person, the information of the color of the face and all the things, is this appearing to us or not? Can we process it normally? Me not. Okay? Actually, everything is there. It's a matter of knowing how to see it or not. So, for me, this was a very clear example of someone that is able to have this part of the mind open, no? That is able to see the person, and because of so much experience, so much knowledge, and also some sort of sensibility, no? Also, I met one other man, which is also chiropractor. And then one time talking to him, he sees so many patients every day that one day he told me, he said, you know, to you I can say, truly, I don't know exactly why, but when the patient comes in, I already know what he has and where I need to touch. I don't need explanation. And he's very good. And he was saying, again, he said, I don't know what happens, but I just enter into this process and I know where to go. Which means there are many different levels of information that we receive in communication. It's a matter of being open to them or not. So the mind of a Buddha has clear all levels of communication and information, and it has all of this perfectly processed and clear. That's the main difference. So that's what we call the mirror-like wisdom. We can slowly clean our own mirror, you know. And we clean it in one part here, then we clean on the other side there, and then slowly we can have a more detailed view of the world, and we can have more, can be able to process more information. So the mind of a Buddha, have no doubt, always certainty in every action, is able to see the similarities of everything, can, without losing the details on the specific aspect of each one, and can see and process each and everything that appears to him at every moment. Okay? The fifth wisdom, which is called, in Sanskrit, is called the Dharma Dhatu wisdom. Dharma Dhatu wisdom, Chogi Ying Yeshe, in Tibetan, it means it's a word that is difficult to translate. That's why it was kept the name in Sanskrit. Okay? Dharma means phenomena. Dhatu means space, but it's more like absolute space. It's not the space like the sky type of space. Yin, it's like the true nature. So let's try to understand what is this Dharma Dhatu wisdom. Then we can maybe, if we can find that word in English, but it's not so simple. The Dharma Dhatu wisdom is the mind itself. Up to now has been aspects of the mind, right? The Dharma Dhatu wisdom is the mind itself, and the Dharma Dhatu wisdom of the basis is the mind with defilements. The Dharma Dhatu wisdom of the result is the mind without defilements. Okay? So, which means that the mind is always there. It's always our mind, but in two moments. For example, when we have a moment of a very clear mind. Do we have moments that our mind is very clear? It's like, looks like we incorporate, like, there are oracles that incorporate deities, no? Looks like we incorporate at one moment Manjushri, no? And then there are these moments of clarity that everything is clear and then we can see and we can understand. Does this ever happen? Somehow yes, no? There are moments in which our mind is more clear, and then there are moments in which our mind is completely dark. Like in the middle of a mist, and we don't understand things, and we see things in another way, and we get confused, and our mind is not clear. Do we have these two moments? Is it always our mind? So this is one example which says, which is that mind is always the mind. We have the mind in a moment with defilements or without defilements, but it's always the mind. The day that we become a Buddha is always ourselves. It's not, we don't become someone else. That's why we say that all Buddhas, they are of the same nature, in the sense that there is not one Buddha with more qualities than the other, but each one of them have their own individuality. Which means the day I become a Buddha and you become a Buddha, we can still say hello to each other. Because some people think that becomes like one, no? But the Buddha is not something totally separated from what we are. It's just us better. It's very important to understand this idea. Because the difficulty that we have in our culture nowadays, actually it's a difficulty everyone has, but in this specific case it's our problem, is that we are not able to listen to anything independently of our own worldview, independently of our own culture and ideas, right? Okay. And from what worldview do we come from? What religions were our education based on? Monotheistic, right? So, very often when we talk about Buddha, the tendency is to put Buddha to compare to what we know. So the tendency is to take the concept of Buddha and compare it to the concept of God or whatever. But it's something completely different. We are talking about two things that have nothing to do one with the other. If we need to talk about God, I just take the advantage just to say this. Sometimes people ask me, do you believe in God? And normally I answer, tell me what is God and I can tell you if I believe or not. Because if God is something that it's present in everything and everyone, is the one that makes everything. Nothing can exist without God making it happen. Aren't these two qualities of God? That God is present in everything and in everyone. That God at the same time is the one that makes everything and is the creator of the universe, and then everything depends on Him, right? What is the concept in Buddhism that has these qualities? Interdependence. It's not a Buddha. Interdependence is everywhere and in everything. Everything is interdependent. And what is the cause for everything? Interdependence. So, if we would say the most similar thing of the concept of God, the difference is that for us, interdependence is not being put as an entity, but as a natural law of reality. But if we really put together the qualities, now if we take away the name and if we take away the aspect of being an entity, it's very similar actually, in many ways. Even when we make the question, why did this happen? In the monotheistic tradition, often we would listen because God wished it for it, because of God's will. No, even sometimes, if God wills, may this happen. No? What would we say in Buddhism? Because causes and conditions were there for it to happen. If causes and conditions come, may this happen. Or we say, may there be causes and conditions for this to happen. It's like saying, may God wish for it, So what I want to say is that the most similar concept to the concept of God that we have in Buddhism is interdependence. Someone may say, oh, this is outrageous and heresy and so on, but I'm just looking from my own perspective, okay? But it's for me the most similar thing that we can put together. But Buddha has nothing to do with the concept of God. Buddha is not something that is disconnected from us. Buddha is us better. Buddha is our own quality. Buddha Shakyamuni, at one point he was a human being with all, not Buddha, Buddha Shakyamuni, he was a human being, but he was a human being with all the anger and the fear and all of this. Some lives before, yes. We could say a Buddha is a better me. But it's always connected to us. So why it's so difficult for us to understand this? Because we come from a worldview, from a paradigm in which the holy, the sacred, and the profane, you say in English? Profane. The profane are two complete different things and separated and not connected to each other. So we have the tendency to go and say, please Buddha, help me. Do something for me. Protect me. Take care of me. Do something that I don't suffer. I will do what you tell me to do. But please protect me from my suffering. But Buddha is there and I am here. Because the tendency is we just change from one religion to the other. We just change the name and we just change the image. But some basic instinct and attitudes continue the same. That's why one of the most important things in Buddhism is understanding what is a Buddha. And sometimes it may take like 30 years of Buddhism in order for someone to understand what is a Buddha. To understand that it's not a God. But still, Buddhas exist as holy beings. It's like making a metaphor which may not be the best one, but somehow it can help. It's like I start studying, and let's say I want to become a professor, or I want to become a scientist, or I want to become a doctor, or whatever, okay? So there I am in my first year of study. Do I have still a lot to learn before becoming the scientist I want to become? Yes. And when I look at the big scientists that are my idols, that I respect them so much, do they exist? Yes, they exist. And how do I see them? As what I want to become. Am I there yet? No, I have a long way to go. But when I look at them, I say, what are them? They are the reflection, they are the representation, the embodiment of what I want to become. They represent what I can do. But the fact that at the same time they are the embodiment of my own qualities developed to their potential, this doesn't mean that they don't exist as an individual, so that is an example that is already there. Similar to that, a Buddha is someone that have already reached where I want to reach. And he is also representing my qualities developed to their maximum potential. But this doesn't mean that Buddhas don't exist. So it's not only a metaphor, it's not only an archetype, it's not only a, embodiment of something like an intellectual idea of just a way to help us to believe in ourselves. There have been people that have developed their qualities to their maximum potential, that have become real Buddhas. And Buddhas continue to exist. So Buddhas are there, but they are not disconnected from us because they came from the same basis in which we are. That's why when we take refuge in the Buddha, we take refuge in the Buddha as the one that shows us the path. But at the same time, we need to take refuge in the Buddha that one day we will become in our own potential of enlightenment. The two things must go together.
Is there a Buddha in the world right now?
I think so. I don't know precisely. I have no ability to point a finger and say this one is a Buddha, that one is not a Buddha. Okay. What it said is that Buddhas, they manifest constantly because what is the main objective of a Buddha? To help others. Okay. And how can someone help someone else? Interacting with them. So what is the role of a Buddha? To interact. And then here comes one part which is, okay, let's say that I need help, okay? I need help. A Buddha wants to help me. What happens if a Buddha come right now here in his subtle body of light? I cannot see. Right? Maybe I feel some good energy, whatever, but I cannot see. If I am sensible, maybe I even don't feel anything. Right? So, for a Buddha to be able to help me, how he needs to manifest to me? In the same level in which I am. He needs to manifest in which way? With flesh and bone, in a way that I can understand, in a way that I can connect. That's the only way how a Buddha can truly interact with me. In a level that I can connect with. So it is said that we never know truly who is a Buddha, who is not, you know. I don't know, maybe you are all Buddhas helping me on my path, by developing my path, by teaching the Dharma, you know. Who knows? We never know truly who is the person that is in front of us. And there is a short story which I like very much about this. It's a true story. And Ngen told me, one of my teachers. He said when he arrived in the monastery, it was quite small in Tibet, in Sera monastery in Tibet. There was one monk, and he was like the example of the monk that didn't go so well. So basically, he didn't know even how to read or write. He didn't know many of the prayers, he didn't know them by heart. He was not meditating almost. He passed all his time just talking around and gossiping around and not doing much. And he was already a bit old in the monastery. So he was the example. Whenever the young kids were not studying well, their teachers would come to them, to my teacher, and say, "Oh, study well, otherwise you become like him." Do you want to be like him? No, 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 so study well. Okay. This monk, he had one sort of student, which was not a student to whom he would teach anything, but it's simply because in the monastery, after a certain number of years that you are in the monastery, when come new monks, they need to give the new monks to be of responsibility of elder monks. So he had a younger monk that was under his responsibility. Okay? And it's normal that when we enter the monastery, there is an older monk that is responsible for us, and we also take care of that monk. We go to take water, we respect him, we do what is necessary for him also. We treat like a teacher. So this monk, because he was older, he had a younger monk that he was responsible for. So one day he went to this young monk and he said, "Oh, tomorrow, for 3 days, starting from tomorrow, don't bring me any more water, don't bring me food, don't bring me firewood, just let me be alone, because I'm going to die." Then the boy thought, okay, that's nice, he's making one joke, who knows what he needs to do during these 3 days. Okay? Remembering that one of the most difficult things is to as a spiritual path is to recognize one's own moment of death and use the moment of death as a path to enlightenment. That's one of the most difficult things to do. Anyhow, he said this, the boy went away, for 3 days he didn't come. 3 days after he came, and what he found? The old monk sitting in the perfect posture of meditation. In front of him he had prepared everything necessary for the body when died, which is the rope, the firewood, the cloth where to put the body, so not to give trouble to anyone. Everything was there. And he was seated in meditation, dead. But still in the area of his heart was warm. And this is the sign that he's in deep meditation. When a person dies, one of the signs that a person remains in deep meditation in the process of death is that in the area of the heart it remains heat, which means the process of death has not finally completed yet. And it says that the only reason why a person can stay in a longer period like this is when the person is in deep meditation on this process. And he stayed like this for days. So he showed in his death that he was a highly realized person. But through his whole life, he's manifested as the one that didn't know anything. On the other side, in other monastery, more or less the same period, there was one important teacher, one Kachin, like a geshe, and he became well known because also monks love to give nicknames, as the teacher Shinchotampa, Gen Shinchotampa. Shinchotampa is the first lines of the verse 84 from the Guru Puja.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had many disciples, and then let's say that he would gather all of them in a moment. He was already old, and he said, now I'm going to die. So we'll gather all of them, do Guru Puja very slowly for him to die a while during Guru Puja. And then he would concentrate well to try to die. And then when it got to the verse Shinchotampa, he couldn't say that now. He said, oh, now go fast, you know. This time it didn't happen, so go fast. And then tomorrow come back again. And then tomorrow they do, and he meditate, and he concentrate, and so on, and then nothing. Then go to verse Shinchotampa and say, okay, now just recite fast, no? So they gave him the name of Gen Shinchotampa, no? So there was even one master living in the United States, and arrived a moment in which he said, now is the moment of my death. So he gave away everything he had. He had a house in his name when he had a small center. He had other things. He gave everything away, and he went to die in Tibet. Some half a year later, he came back, he couldn't die. So he came back, and then, but the problem that he had is those to whom he gave the house already did something, and he could never have things back, you know. So there he was, without a house, without anything. But anyhow, the point which I want to say is that one of the most difficult things is to recognize one's own moment of death and to induce oneself in meditation through that moment. It's something which is very difficult. This monk was the monk that was the example of the one that didn't know anything. And even some very few years ago, maybe 1-2 years ago, it happened in the south of India, in Serpa monastery, of one monk that he was the most common worker in the monastery. He was the one that he was not showing any great qualities. He was the one that was not respected as the great master. The most common one there. And when he died, he showed that he had great realizations. There he was in the same state of deep meditation for hours and days. It stayed, I think, for 2 weeks or something like that. Okay? And the interesting thing is when this happened, the body doesn't start smelling also. So the body can stay like this for days and days and days. No more pulse, no more heartbeat. The person is dead, technically. But the actual subtle process of death has not finished because it's in this deep state of meditation. It's one of the very special qualities that is possible to reach. So, this is to say, we never know who is a Buddha, who is not a Buddha. We never know who we have in front of us. And the Buddhas, according to what is said and what ideally, they are manifesting themselves everywhere, all the time, in all sorts of emanations. It doesn't matter, it's not that a Buddha will manifest as a Buddhist. Huh? A Buddha can manifest in all forms. Okay? But the main point here is that we have the potential to become Buddha. This is something that it is so important for us to understand. And again, we should be careful not to see when we talk about becoming a Buddha, becoming a sort of God. It has nothing to do with that. It's just us, much, much better. Okay? I think it's quite clear at this point, right? So, when we go to the fourth seal, Nyangele debe Zhiwa, beyond suffering is peace. It means it is possible to go beyond suffering. It is possible to eliminate our own suffering. It is possible to reach the so-called nirvana. But again, this is something that we must develop in ourselves, this true faith. Even one time I was talking to the monastery of NgalSo, and I was giving some short teachings to this group of monks there in Tibet. And then it became very clear to me. I was saying, look, most of us here, we really have a lot of faith in the path, in Buddhism and in Buddha and in the Dharma and so on, but we lack faith in ourselves. So there must be a sort of pride in which says, I can do it. This is fundamental. And one of the things that helped me to understand this is, why did Buddha teach everything that he taught? Because he wanted to build up a world religion? I don't think so. Because he believed that we could make it. If we take, for instance, our Guru Lama Michel, why Rinpoche teaches everything he teaches to us? Because he truly believes that we can put it into practice. The only reason why Buddha taught everything he taught is because he believed that we can make it. And the only reason why all the masters from generation to generation have been passing this knowledge to us is because they all believe that we can make it. So if someone of wisdom believes that I can do, I think I also believe I can also believe that I can. But now, it is important on this that when we on the basis of this, we enter one part which is not clearly in the four seals, which is the path. Okay? So before entering a short explanation about the path, again, what are the four seals? What are the the basics of Buddhist philosophy, or of like the four pillars, no? Or the four symbols of the Buddhist worldview or the Buddhist paradigm. External reality is interdependent. Suffering comes from internal reality, from our own defilements and karma. External and internal reality are interdependent. Everything lacks an autonomous, independent existence. And we have the potential to reach a state of peace and well-being. Long-term peace and well-being. We have the potential to become a Buddha. These are the bases. But one thing is like that. It's not possible to outsource our own enlightenment. Do we try to do it sometimes? No. We go and we may make beautiful offerings to the Guru or to whoever or to the Buddha, then say, please help me and make me to go more near to enlightenment, you know. This won't make us to be more near to enlightenment, the fact that we make more offerings or less offerings or this or that. If we do not practice, it simply will not come. It depends on us, on no one else. So, I'm sorry if I put it this way, but you know, being the friend of the doctor won't make us to cure faster, you know. Or yes? If I am the best friend of the doctor, but I don't take the medicine, I don't change my diet, I don't do the exercise, will I get cured? No. If I go and I live inside the pharmacy, will that cure me? No. I need to take the right medicine. Okay. So, we can be the best friend of the doctor, we can be his brother, his father, his mother, his son, whatever, okay? We can be all the time and we can be the best friend of the doctor, being with the doctor. It's good if we take the medicine, otherwise won't make much difference. So what is the actual true refuge? Our own practice. The Dharma as the process of practicing and changing our mind. When do we truly take refuge in the Dharma? When we sit down and meditate. When we apply the philosophy in our lives. When we take the Dharma, instead of, then we don't leave it only in the book and in the teachings, and we apply it to our lives. That's when we are taking refuge in the Dharma. And that's what can really help us. So to understand this, there are 6 awarenesses that we need to develop. Okay? The 6 awarenesses are the following. The first is the awareness, these are normally called the 6 awareness that we need to develop whenever listening to the Dharma. So when we listen to teaching or when we go to read a book about Dharma, these are the 6 awarenesses through which we need to do that reading or that listening to the teachings. And the 6 awarenesses are as follows. First one, Rang Nebatabutushe, to have the discernment to see oneself as the patient. Okay? So, I'm not going to listen to the Dharma because I want to become a teacher or because I want to become knowledgeable about the Dharma. I listen to the Dharma because I need to cure myself from my own suffering. There's a big difference, huh? It's like, why I go to the doctor? Not because I want to learn more about medicine to become a good doctor. It's also noble, but I go to the doctor because I need to cure myself from my sickness. Okay? So it's for me. Maybe it's wonderful if I want to cure myself in order to help others to get cured. But I am sick also. So I see myself as the patient, as the sick one. I see the guru, the one teaching me, the teacher, as the doctor. What is the function of the doctor? Can any doctor cure us? Can the doctor cure his patient? No. What can the doctor actually do? He can make the correct diagnosis and give the right medicine. And give love and incentive to the patient. Right? So, the guru, the teacher, is like the doctor. The dharma is like the medicine. Okay? The process of getting cured, the cure that we need to follow. The medicine is the dharma. And remember, medicine is not only the pills. Lifestyle is medicine, diet is medicine, behavior is medicine, and pills are also medicine. Okay? The fourth aspect is that the process of healing happens by taking the medicine. So I can go, I can see myself as a patient, I can find the best doctor, I can receive the best medicine, but if I don't take it, I'm not going to get cured. So the process of healing happens by taking the medicine, which is the process of healing happens by putting into practice the teachings. As Shantideva said, receiving teachings and not putting them into practice is just like going to the doctor and only reading the prescription. No, we can take the prescription from the doctor, and we can put in a beautiful frame in our house, and we can even put in the altar. And every day we say, "Oh, how precious I am that I received this prescription. I love so much my doctor, and he gave me such a beautiful prescription. Thank you for the prescription. So nice the prescription. I read the prescription from time to time. It's there with me." But if I don't follow, it's not going to work. I can have some placebo effect of having the prescription and seeing, oh, how good I got the prescription, maybe some nice effect it will bring to me, but it will not truly able to cure completely my disease. Okay? So, what happens is that I am sick, I go to the doctor, I get the medicine, but where does the actual process of healing begins? By taking the medicine, which means by changing the lifestyle, by changing my diet, by changing my behavior, by taking the pills or whatever medicine I have to take. Okay? And this is the metaphor, and the meaning is the process of healing starts by putting into practice the teachings. That's like taking the medicine. How do we put into practice? We reflect about the teachings, we meditate about it, we do the prayer, we do what we are supposed to do. Otherwise, it just remains there. Fifth aspect. I have the potential to be cured. Believing in one's own capacity of being cured. Because as we know, if I go to the doctor, I know that I'm sick, because if I don't know that I'm sick, I'm not going to the doctor, first of all. I know very few people that go to doctors even when they don't think they are sick. But normally, why do we go to the doctor? Because we are sick. If I do not acknowledge that I am sick, am I going to follow the diagnosis and the cure that is given to me? No. The more I know that I am sick, the stronger will be my urge to take the medicine and to find the right doctor and to take the medicine and so on. Okay? So first, I know that I'm sick. Second, I go to the good doctor. Third, he gives me the medicine. Fourth, I start taking the medicine. Fifth, I believe that I can get cured. Otherwise, I would not continue taking the medicine. Sixth, last but not least, the process of healing, it's long and gradual. It's not immediate. If we take two types of sickness, sickness that is because of just a momentary condition, and we take a chronic disease. How long does it take to cure a chronic disease? Short or long? Long time, right? If we have, I don't know, something in the liver or in the kidneys or whatever, that for many years I treated it in the wrong way, and there I am with a bad problem. Okay, I can change now. I stop taking the wrong diet. I change my lifestyle. I start taking the medicine for that. But until I'm able to cure it completely, it takes time. It's a gradual process. Okay? And what is our sickness? Do we have a sickness that comes from a momentary condition, or we have a chronic disease? What is the description? What is the diagnosis of our disease? It's called selfishness. It manifests through anger, jealousy, pride, miserliness, and so on, and is caused by a virus called ignorance. Okay? So, but we have been with this virus for such a long time that it takes time. So the process of healing is gradual. One of the main enemies in the process of healing is our expectations. When we are in the process of healing, when is the process of healing completed? When the symptoms end, or when the causes of sicknesses are eliminated? When is the healing process completed? When the causes of the sickness are eliminated, right? But what is our tendency? When do we want to stop taking the pills and doing the exercise or doing the process of healing? When? The symptoms are gone. We do the same, When do we want to practice the Dharma? When we have the symptoms of suffering. But the causes of sickness are still there. So we need to remember that once the symptoms are gone, we still have a long way to go in order for the symptoms not to come back. And there is one thing which I really don't understand so much, but I am fully inside of it. Now a bit better, but still there. I don't like taking medicines. It's not a metaphor, it's a fact of the actual thing. I really have some sort of aversion for medicine. This is my own mistake, it's my problem. Don't take it as an example. I'm able to, many times I'm not feeling so well, I go there, I take some medicine, I'm talking about natural things and so on, whatever, then I take, and then finally I don't take the medicine. Well, it happens so many times. And then I take for some days, I start feeling better, then I stop taking it. But what does that make? That sooner or later the symptoms come back. But if we see this as a metaphor, very often we know that there are things which is practiced in the Dharma, that is the medicine that is good for us, but when there are no symptoms, we see like if we don't need the Dharma anymore. No? In the moment that we are enjoying ourselves and we are not feeling depressed and everything is fine and we are happy and so on, who needs the Dharma when he's happy? Everyone. Truly. That's when we most need it. Because that's when actually we can go deeper and we can become stronger and we can gradually take away. Because if we practice the Dharma like firefighters, that whenever there is an emergency, we go to take away the fire. Nowadays, firefighters do other stuff also, they do prevention also, but imagine just if we practice the Dharma like only wanting to take away the emergency. What happens? Whenever there is something that is getting The fire is coming up, we go there and we go and we do the meditation and we do the mantra and we listen to the teaching and we do something to put the fire down. Then we go back to our distractions of our lives, we go back to doing things, now everything is fine, now I am in holiday, I am enjoying myself, I don't need the Dharma. In the moment that again I get into trouble and I get some sadness and I get something here and there, okay, then now I need some help. Oh my Guru, where are you? Where is the Dharma? Where is the Buddha? I take refuge again. Okay. It's good, but it's not enough. The problem of this attitude is that we always remain in the same level because the fire comes up and then it's like we wait always to be a lot of dirt in order just to clean that dirt, instead of going deeper and making in a way that the dirt is not coming there anymore. So, the process of healing, it's long and gradual. And we need to continue the treatment even when we are feeling well, even when the symptoms are gone, until the causes are not completely eliminated. Okay? Especially when is that we need to train, for example, to eliminate our anger? When we are peaceful. Not to wait the anger to come to try to do something about it. But let's be sincere. Who wants to train on patience when we are not angry? Not so much, right? Say, oh, so good, I'm not angry. I don't want to deal with that right now.
Yeah.
But when is the right moment to do it? When we are well. That's when we really need to deal with it, you know. It remembers me a little bit when there is something, there is a problem and someone comes and wants to talk to us and to deal with it and say, oh, we need to do this and that. And in the moment, okay, but now I'm not feeling that. Come on, don't come to bother me with this, you know. But the moment in which we really need to do something is when we are well, when the problem is not really truly manifested. That's the most important moment when we need to practice. To cultivate our love. Because when we practice in the moments where we are well, this allows us to go deeper and deeper and to develop our qualities higher and higher, instead of using the Dharma just as a way to take away the fire of the emergency. And in that way we can gradually go one step after the other. Year by year, life by life. Yes?
But, say, suffering and practice are not only individual things, are they? I mean, I have had these moments that I sit and I'm peaceful, and then I feel a sadness coming, and then later on, hours later, I realize it's a sadness, say, for my brother, or I can feel an anger coming, and it's not my personal anger, but it's an anger that is alive somewhere, and I can process it. So it's not just an individual thing.
No, okay. One thing that it's important to develop is our ability of discernment, which is that, is it possible to feel the sadness or the anger of someone else? Yeah, it's possible. And as you said, there are moments in which we are just more peaceful, which means we have less distractions, and this opens us to be more sensible to other things, and then we can feel something coming. And maybe we don't know exactly really what it is. And because we don't know how to discern correctly, we think maybe it's our own sadness, or we think that it's something that is coming from us, when often it doesn't need to be necessarily that. It can be from other also. So, I do not believe that we can, in our own path, eliminate the sadness or the suffering of others. We can listen to it. In the metaphoric sense, we can listen in the sense we can feel the sadness and the suffering of others, and by that we can interact with them mentally energetically, physically, verbally, we can interact with them and do something for them. This is possible. And this is part of our path also. The path of the Bodhisattva is part of the path to do something for others, to help others, to interact positively with others. But we are not able to eliminate the suffering or the sadness of others. We are only able to interact with them in a way to try to help them. But it's important as we move along and we develop more sensibility to be able to discern our own feelings and understand, okay, is this something that I'm feeling from someone else, or is it something that is actually manifesting from my own self? When, for example, there are moments in which we may feel sadness, there are moments in which we may feel anger or other types of emotions, which actually are very much connected to the cycle of our body, are very much connected to the astrological cycle in which we are at that moment also. Sometimes we feel sadness and we feel when we go to see another person is sad also, but it's basically because we are being influenced by the same things. This is also happening sometimes. So, I was even reading an article of a scientist some time ago, and this was saying that this lady made a research proving that most of us have truly no idea, no clear idea about what emotion we are feeling. That we have sensations coming in and we have the tendency to give a name to it, but very often we are confused and we really don't know what it is. That's why there's the process of developing more discernment. No? And she made an example of herself, saying that one day she was in the laboratory working, and then by the end of the day came one of her colleagues and invited her to go out for a drink. And she thought, okay, I don't really like this man. Never thought going out with him. But okay, why not to do something different? Let's go. And when she arrived there, after some time she started drinking something, and after some time she started feeling something moving in her stomach, and her face started becoming hot and red. So she said, oh, maybe I like him and I didn't know. So she took another drink, they fixed another date, because she felt something was moving. Then when she got home, she saw that she had a flu. So what was the stomach and the face was actually the flu that she had. But what we do is very often we judge emotions based on context. Okay? So one of the very important things for us to do is that when we feel some sadness coming, and we don't know really where it is, we don't know really from where it is, try not to name it. We need to find a way not to find right away something that is the cause of this, that. Because our tendency is that when we feel some unrestness, when we feel some nervousness, when we feel some sadness, our tendency is what? To point a finger and find who is the one to blame. Why am I feeling like this? Right? But one thing that we should do, which is very beneficial, is when these feelings arise, and they have no clear name really where they are coming from. Sometimes it's clear. Very often it's not so clear. What we do, we just embrace that feeling. Remember that sooner than later it will pass. And don't try right away to give the reason is for this, is for that, is for that other reason. And we can try to just connect with an opposite feeling in order to try to help to pacify that. Sadness, gratitude, love, and so on, this helps us to deal with that. But many conflicts that we live are because we point the finger out to things that actually are not. For example, do we have a physical cycle every month? Actually, both men and women have an cycle of the body. Okay? In women it is more clear, but it also exists in men. You know? There are some men that I know well, and then from time to time I look and I say, okay, now he's in premenstrual tension. Because you can see that It's just some things that comes from time. It's very interesting. There are some people that are no men, for example, that is cyclic. And from time to time, they have the same attitude, which is like some nervousness coming, and it must be directed into something. Okay? So what I want to say is that our body influences our mind. But in the moment that we know, oh, this is my body, I just need to let that moment pass by and try to put energy in something that will make that feeling less, take care of me, instead of pointing the finger to something and someone. The same things happen astrologically. It's very interesting when we have someone that really knows how to read well the astrological aspects. It's quite amazing actually. Because it's really showing, okay, at this moment, what are the emotions that you will feel, what are the feelings, how will be the influence that you will have. It's quite touching actually to see. And what we see is that there are influences that happen to us. And we are much more fragile and much more influenced than what we think. So very often we go there, we sit and we feel something coming. Very often we don't even need to be meditation, we just feel something coming to us. Sometimes it's because, yes, we can feel something of a person that is near to us, like our family members or someone we love, someone that we know. This is possible also, because we do communicate in a more subtle level, and we can feel that. Other moments is something physical that is happening to us. Some moments is a sensibility that we have related to the environment where we are, in a gross or in a subtle level. Sometimes it's something related to the more broad environment, which is the planets and so on, which influences us. And the problem is that we don't have the whole picture in our mind. And so what we do, we try to explain what is happening based on the very small and narrow understanding that we have. So we end up pointing the finger to one or to another thing, when actually it's not that. So, for me it was very clear, one time I was so sad. There was a period, some years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago at least, and I was really very sad. And then I went to Rinpoche, and I said, Rinpoche, I'm so sad. And Rinpoche said, oh, but why? He's so kind to me. So he said, why, what happened? Tell me, we change it, we do what's the problem, you know? And then that's the blessings of the Guru also, that in the moment I made a question to him, I made a statement to him, right away I was already finding the answer myself. And what I said to Rinpoche at the time, I said, Rinpoche, to be sincere, in this moment that I feel uncomfortable and I feel sad, there are so many things that I could wish to be different. If I try to find things that could be the cause of sadness where I could project, there are so many. But when I think of each one of them individually being changed, I cannot see this feeling inside of me of sadness going away. So these are just pretexts on which I try to project it, but truly they are not the actual causes of what I'm feeling. So let's do one thing. Before moving many things and changing things or whatever, let's just wait some time. And let's just embrace that feeling of sadness and just let's wait some time until or the name come out, what is it coming from, or it becomes clear where it's coming from, or it will fade away. What does that mean? I embrace means I accept that I am feeling like that, but I do not dive into it. I continue doing everything else, I continue rejoicing of the positive things, I continue, but there is also that feeling that is there. And I keep it. I take care of it. It's like, I don't know where you are coming from, but okay, there you are. What happened in my case was that after some time I went to Tibet, I stayed 3 months in Tashilhunpo, and in that period it faded away. And later I could understand more or less where it was coming from. But at that moment, if I had just started to point the finger and do things about it, I would have gone in the complete wrong direction. So, I just took advantage of the question to say that often we have feelings and we have emotions and we don't know where they're coming from. And most often we give names to them which they are not. Okay? So, really, we need to be careful, because if maybe we just have insatisfaction, and what we do, we project insatisfaction in the context where we are. But most probably it has nothing to do with that context. And when we get what we are wanting so much, then that hole of insatisfaction is still there. And then what happened? Then we need to feel it as something else. But then the hole is still there because it's coming from somewhere else. And when we don't know really where it's coming from, the best way is just to receive it, to take care of it, and to wait it to fade, or to have clearly where is it coming from and to deal with it. And possibly also to put energy in an antidote. This is what I believe is very important in our path in this way. Okay? So, in our path, the most important refuge of all is the refuge in the Dharma. And this is something that we take daily. The process is gradual, it's not immediate. Okay? When we talk about the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, we have the potential, the qualities are there. We all have certainty in actions, not in every action, but we do have. We all have the ability to rejoice. We all have the ability to be generous. We all have generosity. We all have our own levels of humility. We all are able to love, to have compassion, to have patience. We all have some satisfaction. We are able to concentrate. We all have our own wisdom. But it's a matter of where do I put my energy, into developing more these qualities, or into just pointing the finger around and letting space for other things. Because our mind is interdependent, is flexible. When we say that our nature is pure, because it lacks inherent existence, it does not exist in an autonomous, independent way, it is interdependent. It means that no one can make me suffer, but no one can make me happy. The interaction with others, through the interaction with others, I can suffer more, or I can become more happy. But the one truly making me happy, or the true one truly making me suffer, is myself. Through the interaction of my own mind, through the interdependence that I create. So, the fourth seal, it's telling us, yes, we can do, but it's in our hands. How to say? I'm sorry if I go back to the same point, but the Guru can bless us, which is very important to receive the blessings, can guide us, which is very important to have the right guidance, can help us in moments of difficulties, can show us the correct path, can be an example for us, but we need to do our own steps. It's never too late, it's never too early, but we need to do our own steps. Otherwise, it simply won't come. I think I said it many words already today. Okay? And this is something that, the day that we die, there's not like a preferential road, okay, here come all of those that were friends of the Lama, of this or that, they come this way, Here are those, okay, you are not friend, you are this side. This you go, this doesn't exist. What will determine how we continue? How much love have we developed? How coherent was were our actions during our life? How much we were generous? how selfish we are or how altruistic we are. That's where things really happen, you know. This is something that is really, really important for us to remember. Then sure, if I have a strong connection with someone that has a lot of wisdom and compassion, and I have created a deep connection, this sure can help me also. But it depends mainly on myself, on no one else. Okay. Even for example, when we talk about karma, no? But just touching the subject. Moggallana was one of the two disciples of Buddha. When we have like here the statue of Buddha with the two disciples, one of them was called Shariputra and the other one was called Moggallana, or Moggallana, or the other name I forgot. Moggallani Putra, something like, because Putra means son. Anyhow. Shariputra was incredibly able, like very, very intelligent. Moggallana, he was able to do like magics and very much to do like create illusions, like disappear and start flying and make fire or whatever, this type of strange things. Strange for those that don't know how to do. So what happened was that one day, Moggallana, he was walking, traveling from one place to another, walking, and then he passed in an area of a village where they were very much against Buddhism for whatever reason. And when they saw this Buddhist monk there, they beat him up. And they beat him up very badly. So, when he arrived in the monastery, which with a lot of effort he was able to get there, he was completely broken. And he died out of that also. Okay? So, when they asked him, but why you didn't fly away? Why you suddenly didn't disappear? Why you didn't use your magical skills to protect yourself from that? He answered, when your karma catches you, there is no way to escape. You can be even one of the best disciples of Buddha. You can even be by the side of Buddha, you know. When our karma catches us, no one can do anything. Which means we are responsible for ourselves. No one in this sense can truly protect us from our own actions, from our own karma, and so on and so on. But ourselves. As Buddha said, Dani dagi goyayin, dani dagi drayayin. I am my own protector. I am my own enemy. This is what we are. So, sure we need guidance. Sure we need blessings. Sure we need positive interaction and help during our path. But, together with all of that, sure we need to walk with our own legs. And we need to put our own effort. And just remembering once again, when do we need to put effort into practicing the Dharma, into training ourselves in love and compassion and patience and stability and so on? Most of all, when we are fine. Not waiting the difficult moment to do something about it. Okay? So this is one of the important things that I wanted to bring. So about the four seals, again, external reality is interdependent, it's impermanent, it's ever-changing. Everything that we can see and touch and listen, it's connected to everything else. And it's always changing. Suffering doesn't come from external conditions, but come from internal conditions, which are our own ignorance, selfishness, hatred, attachment, jealousy, pride, miserliness, and so on. And the actions we do from that, our own karma, which is the actions that we do, that's where actually our suffering is coming from. Third, reality, external reality does exist, but it does not exist independently of internal reality. So we live in an interdependent world where nothing exists independently of the name that is attributed to it. And one thing to make it more clear this is that it's not that we live in a reality that each one of us interpret in a different way. There is not like one reality, then infinite interpretations of this reality. There are infinite individual realities that put together make one big reality. Is it clear the difference between the two? One idea is here there is the reality, and each one of us have a different point of view. The other way is there are infinite individual realities that put together make a common reality. Okay? So when we talk about reality, it means there are infinite individuals' reality that put together make a common reality. So nothing exists independently of the attribution of name, of the imputation of the name. Which means that everything that exists externally, it's independence of the internal reality. And the internal reality exists independence of the external reality. We are talking about the same finally. Okay? So, that's the third seal. And that's the fact that internal and external are of the same nature. Object of perception and observer are of the same nature. One cannot exist without the other. Okay? Which means at the same time that everything is interdependent, it lacks one own autonomous existence, independent, inherent existence. So, this is actually the key to eliminate our suffering. Because the key to eliminate ignorance, which is the cause of selfishness, which is the cause of hatred and aversion and attachment and so on. Okay? It's a long subject for us to go on and on until we understand it really clearly. But it's a very fundamental aspect. Okay? So if we look again, it's so important because the first seal is showing us that external reality does exist. The second seal shows us that internal reality it exists, and it's actually determining the way how we experience external reality. And the third seal is showing that one doesn't exist individually from the other. They are both connected, they are both of the same nature. And the fourth seal is showing us that yes, we can make it to experience reality in a coherent way and to stop suffering. Okay? So, this is the basis of the worldview of Buddhism. So what does it mean to follow Buddhist philosophy? To see that everything is interdependent, to accept the impermanence of phenomena, understanding that everything is ever changing, to respect the law of cause and effect, because everything is interdependent, so every action that I do will bring results. So it means to be aware that everything that I experience is the result of all the cause and conditions that I have created and I have interacted in the past and present. To be aware that every action that I do, it will have results, and the cause and results are coherent within each other. To know that nothing starts and nothing begins and nothing ends, everything only transforms itself. To be aware, second seal, that it's the world, the way how I see the world that I see is a reflection of what I am. So I cannot create a perfect world around myself. I need to change the way how I relate to the world. Understanding that external reality and internal reality are interdependent within each other. And what really determines the way how we relate to the world is the way how we see the world, and not the way how the world is. But this doesn't mean that just by thinking things can exist. And believing deeply in my own potential to be free from my own suffering and to help others. And to act in accordance with that. One more thing about that is in the basis, that is present within the Buddhist paradigm, which is important.
which we will not go into details right now. But it's the fact that it requires an fact that we live in a cyclic existence. For the Buddhism paradigm really to be able to function well, we need to be also aware that life is not linear. Linear means I have birth, point A, I have death, point B, and who knows, there is a point C, which can be paradise or hell or whatever. In Buddhist perspective, there is point A, which is birth, there is point B, which is death, which is inevitable, but point A and point B, they join together. So after B, what is coming? A. After A, B. B brings A again. So after death, there will be birth. After birth, there will be death. So basically, death and birth is just a transformation, when there is something that continues. Okay? Maybe after lunch we can talk a little bit more about this. But it's important to see that we live in a constant, that's why we say that the process of healing is long, it takes lives. Because we are not intending just to heal our superficial level, we need to heal our very subtle mind. And luckily death exists. Because imagine what would be for a psychologist to treat, to help a person that has been living for 1,000 years. How many traumas accumulated there? Imagine what it is to enter into a obsessive mind, or enter into a mind that is one's own this pattern, and so a negative pattern, and not be able to go out of it for thousands of years. So luckily, from time to time we die. And what happens when we die? The gross mind, it's cleared away. The subtle mind is clear. It's like a reset of the software, okay? And only what remains is the very subtle mind that continues from life to life. And then once again, another opportunity to develop that qualities once again. If we live really in the best way, then it would be better not to die. But one time I heard one person saying, if that has ever been invented, it has been one of the best inventions that have ever been. Because it allows change, it allows movement, it allows many things. Anyhow, what the conclusion of this is that we live in a cyclic existence, where end is nothing more than transformation. What it means that something has finished, it means it has transformed into something else. When the one day finishes, it transforms into the night. The night finishes, it transforms into the next day. And like this we go on. Please.
I was wondering, the four seals, how do I have to see it in the self-healing? I practice every week.
Okay, I will try to be very brief. Then maybe we bring back this question after lunch. Okay. But basically, practice of self-healing, to practice it correctly, really, we must have the third seal of emptiness. Mm-hmm. When we practice self-healing, it's a method that helps us to understand that our defilements are the main cause of our suffering, so we need to eliminate them. Okay. At the same time, we interact with reality. We change ourselves in order to help to change others, which is the first seal, interdependence between ourselves and others. If I want to help others, first I need to change myself, because cause and effect. The first level of self-healing is change my own attitudes, change my own behaviors. Why? Because they bring results, cause and effect, first seal. Second seal, suffering comes from within, not from outside. That's why I eliminate the anger from the heart, the miserliness from the navel, and like this I go on. Third seal, everything is of the nature of emptiness, which is when we do, in the practice of self-healing, in the beginning we generate everything dissolves into emptiness, then we appear as the deity, as the Buddha, and so on. Which in other words means, why can I change the way how I am? Because everything lacks one's own true existence, and nothing exists out of its own characteristics. One of the basics of Tantra is emptiness. Without actually the understanding of the correct view of reality, it's very difficult to practice in the most deep way the Vajrayana path, from which self-healing is part of. And the last but not least, the most important is that in self-healing, I must first believe that I can heal myself, which is the fourth seal. So the more I am clear with the four seals, the better I can do the practice. Okay. Now we stop for lunch, and then we come back at 3. Okay?
Jetsu lame kutse rapten chi nam karatile chochurge padam losan tempe drume sasungi drome muse katune gyurchi nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan dele shin Nitsan taptu delepe, concho sumgi jingilo, concho sumgi modrupso, concho sumgi tashisho.
Bij zonsopgang en zonsondergang,
bij nacht of middag, mogen de drie wegen ons de zegeningen schenken. Mogen zij ons helpen alle realisaties te verwerven en het pad van ons leven besproeien met variërende tekens van voorspoed.
bij zijn afgang en
Abendung, nacht und Mittag, mögen die drei Wege uns gesegnet werden, mögen sie uns helfen, alle Verwicklungen zu erlangen und unsere seelische Spiritualität zu